Hey everybody, it's Matt from Akuma Mods. Today we are going to be reviewing the Filadryer S1 by Sunlu. And I already took this out of the box, but this is the basic box that it comes in. Very, very nice, fancy packaging that we have here. So this is the packaging it comes in, and it's all kind of wrapped up and inside of the case. So it's all as one. There are some nice features about this. It does say that it has evenly heating setup, which is true. I've been testing it with my little thermometer here, and it definitely has even heating on each sides. So it definitely keeps the same type of setup on each and every side, so that way you have an evenly heated or dehydrating action. Couple things to note about this. Right now, as of shooting this video, there is a Kickstarter going on. I'm not sure how many more days it's going to be going on for. But as of right now, they are going for $35 for the pre-order, and then I believe it's $40 for the early bird. And then there are some other packages that you can do, like dual, like getting 2 units for $70 or $80, I think it was. But if you don't happen to get on that, the normal retail price that I'm hearing for this is going to be somewhere between $70 and $80. So while that might be a little bit sting to most people's pocket, I'm going to tell you exactly why that might not be too bad of a price to pay for this still. So a couple things just to note here. Obviously, this is a filament dehydrator or heater, more or less, but it does dehydrate it. So that's first and foremost, that it's its main reason for that. Secondly, it is a filament spool holder. Okay, so that's number 2. And it also has rollers, so you can use it while you are printing. So there's number 3. And then number 4, you can actually also, if you have a resin printer, you can also use it to heat up your resin as well. So if I were to take this out and put that in there, voila, I now have a resin dryer as well. And you can actually probably put 2 bottles in there if you really wanted to, if you got multiple printers. So it does have a dual use for it, for FDM and resin printing. I'm not saying that's, going to actually work the way that it's intended, but obviously if you put it in there for a day or so and you come back, and I guarantee this will be up to temperature for sure. So some nice features about this is it's got a little LED screen. One of the downfalls of it is that it's not backlit or anything, so it's kind of hard to see. But I mean, if I'm looking at it right here, I can see it. It's not the end of the world. But obviously, if you're looking at it from a distance, you're not going to be able to see anything. So out of anything to upgrade or possibly do on production models, I don't know if this is a pre-production model or it's an actual model. They just sent it to me to test out and give my thoughts on it. But that's one thing that they should definitely change or switch out, is a backlit LED screen. So very simple to set it up. You just press the left and right button to set your temperatures. It ranges anywhere between, I think it's 35 and 55 degrees Celsius. So that'll give you a good range of what you can print at. And what's nice about this is it does give you, in the little instruction manual, tips for best results. So I have it set for 45, and it does jump between 45 and 46 just to maintain that temperature. So if you're using pretty much any type of PLA, whether it be regular PLA, wood, marble, glow in the dark, whatever it may be, that style of PLA, you're going to want it between 45 and 50 degrees Celsius. Anything above that, ABS, HIPS, PC, nylon, PVA, ASA, you're going to want between 50 and 55, it says. PETG, TPU, 48 and 52. That's the one that this is going to shine the most on. TPU is I think the word is hydroscopic, which means it takes in a lot of moisture no matter where you are, it's going to take in moisture, unless obviously you have it constantly dehydrating somewhere. So that's one thing that if you're a TPU user, this is going to be the best bang for your buck. And then it also says PMMA. I'll be honest, I've been around for a while. I've never heard of that type of filament. Might be a special filament. I don't know. But it says between 47 and 51, so definitely the lower end. And then it says to cook them basically for 3 to 6 hours. So this is not like, all right, I'm going to set it up and go, unless, you know, you're okay with taking something out of the bag and throwing it in there, then that's fine. You can do that. This is more or less like, I'm going to set this overnight because I'm going to print with this filament tomorrow. And by the time I get it all set up and ready to go, tomorrow it should be good and ready to print and have no issues. This spool has actually been sitting out for about a year and a half now without any bagging whatsoever. It's just been out in the open. And in the Midwest, for those who live in the Midwest, know that our humidity goes through the roof when it's summertime. You know, it can be 80 degrees, but with the humidity, it could be like 104. So it gets pretty bad out here. So thankfully, I don't have to worry too much about that because my house is temperature controlled and I do work in my basement, so I'm not really too worried about it. But the other plus side of this is for those who are working in cold climate conditions, people that have their printing set up in garages. This would help you out to preheat your filament that you're going to be using. So let's say I'm going to be designing something and, you know, it's going to take me a couple hours to design it. All right, I'm going to go out in my garage. I'm going to go ahead and start designing things. I'll throw in whatever filament it is. Let's say I'm going to be using the ABS for that day. Or, you know what, let's throw out TPU. I'm going to print a flexible one. I'm going to make some stress balls and stuff. Basically what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to throw my TPU in there. I'm going to start my button and we're going to set it for 3 hours. Let's say we have 3 hours of designing to do. All right. So right then and there, we're going to already set up and have our filament ready to go for the most part to get printing. So that's nice because it's going to bring our temperatures up to ambient. That puts less stress on our hot end to keep it constantly heated. And who knows, maybe that'll save our hot end. I highly doubt it, but hey, it's just a thought. But again, also going back to resin, for those who are printing FDM and resin like myself, and you know you happen to be working in a garage setting as well, you can also throw this in there, and there you have a resin and a filament heater. So that's really, really nice. The other thing about it is it's nice and compact. So it kind of has like a trifecta going on where you know it's small and compact. It heats my filament and dries it out. It's a filament spool holder, as well as usable. So there are rollers in this, so you can use this and print while this is in here. You don't ever have to take that spool out ever again if you don't want to. So that's really, really nice because you can keep it at a nice temperature and not have to worry about things. So I really, really dig that. And it does have different settings for the hours, anywhere between 3 and 6 hours. So that's kind of nice. The power that it's outputting is minimal at best. It's a 24 volts at 2 amps. And obviously, as you guys can see, these are really only going to fit 1 kilogram or 2.2 pound spools of filament because of the thickness that it allows. You might be able to get away with some bigger ones, but you know there's very, very little wiggle room in there as it is. So you probably want to just stick to the 1 kilogram spools. So we are working at 48 watts total on that. Like I said, it's 24 volts at 2 amps. So it's not anything you really have to worry about if you leave it for long periods of time, because it's a low voltage setup. So that's kind of nice that it's, you know, most of these printers are low voltage, but since it's such a compact, small model, it's not using a lot of power from it. So that's kind of nice to have that thought that, you know, something's not really going to burn it down. Um, and then basically you can use any 1.75 millimeter, 2.85, and 3 millimeter diameter. Like I said, as long as you keep it within the 1 kilogram spool size, you should be good. And for the most part, most of these spools that are at 1 kilogram are going to be similar size. Maybe it's slightly bigger or slightly wider, whatever you want to call it. So it is very nice. So we have our left button and our right button. That's basically to choose our temperatures. So if you press the right, we can set our temperature even higher if we wanted to. If we hold it down on the left button, this will give our timer. So right now it's going to be heating this unit at whatever temperature you set for 1 hour. I can go 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour, 5 hour, 6 hour, 7 hour, 8 hour, 9 hour. So we're going to keep on going and seeing what our max is. 24 hours. So that's kind of nice. I can have this setting here. It's basically like the crock pot of filament in a way. So you set it and forget it. And then once it's set, go ahead and hold down the left button, and then you can go ahead and set your temperature. Now this is in Celsius, so yeah, that's basically how that is. And again, it does have dual use. To utilize the filament spool holder, you will have to remove this little white nub and then pull your filament through. So really only two downfalls that I see of this right now is, one, they probably should have put a metal filler in there. You can probably get something to put inside there so that way you don't have to worry about that. You can also even modify this to put a PTFE fitting in here. So that would be kind of nice to have as well. So you can also not have to worry about, you know, opening up this little hole more, because as most FDM printing people know, the path of least resistance is what you're looking for. But obviously, if you have a smaller printer that, you know, your filament guide is right here, and you're bringing out filament here, well, obviously you're going to start ripping downwards as it pulls. So that's one thing to take into note, that you might want to modify that hole with some type of metal or a PTFE fitting, whatever it may be, and that way you don't have to worry about that too much. The other thing is the LED or LCD screen. This definitely needs to be backlit for sure. So hopefully the production models come up with that. But for $80 that it's going to retail at, roughly around there, I think it's actually a pretty good buy. I know you can go out and get a food dehydrator and it would cost less, but really a food dehydrator is really big. And I work with a very small area of workspace. So every little thing counts when it comes to printing area and how big something is. Basically, I'm looking to get the most usability out of the smallest point of real estate that I have in my shop area. Because my basement, while it's big, you know, I only have so much to work with. So I want to try and keep it all in a tight area as much as possible. So this is definitely something for me. May not be the best for you, and I know there's going to be tons of comments below that say, oh, well, a food dehydrator is going to be better. Yeah, but I just don't have a place for a food dehydrator. First off, and then secondly, I don't do enough FDM printing anymore. I have one FDM printer that I print with, and the rest are all resin. So for me, a food dehydrator, while it may be more cost effective for myself, it's not going to be useful on a consistent basis. In fact, most of the people I know that have food dehydrators, they don't use them as much as they should. Whereas this, even if you don't use it, it's still a filament spool holder. So you're still going to utilize it with a printer because it has rollers on it. It'll roll the spool for you. I personally am not a fan of the top mount spool holders that most printers come with. So for that, it's already a slam dunk for me. Then secondly, it's very compact. It's like a food dehydrator. I think the smallest one is probably three if not 4 times the size of this. So with that being said, I don't really see the plus on a food dehydrator, at least for me. Maybe for you, sure, you want to save some money, that's fine. For me, if I'm going to spend some money, I want to try and get the most out of my money. So for me, this is really the most out of my money because I can utilize it as a resin heater or a filament heater or a filament spool holder, roller, whatever you want to call it. And then on top of it, it's compact. So it checks a lot of boxes for me already. While again, it might be more expensive, in the long run, it'll save me some money because I probably would have just thrown this spool out. That's about $10 worth of filaments. It's about half of a spool. So, and this spool was about 25 bucks. So let's call it $10. Let's just even it out. So right then and there, I probably would have just tossed it out because I mean it's been sitting outside for a year and a half, and you know that basically would have just happened. So already I just saved myself $10 on that. So I mean that's a pretty good thing. So all in all, for me, it's a really, really good bang for your buck. So I will definitely be putting this to use once I get my my FDM printer back up and running. I wish I could have shown you guys it actually in use while it was printing, but sadly my FDM decided to die on me this week. So of course, right before I had to do a review for something FDM, my FDM printer went out on me. So so maybe I'll do another follow-up review like down the line, just to say, hey, this is my thoughts on it. This is how it's working. I usually try and do that just to keep people updated on something that, you know, most YouTube channels just put something out and it's like, yeah, this is a great thing, and that's the end of it. You don't hear about it ever again. You might hear them talk about their thoughts on it or their usage, but nobody ever comes back around, you know, a month or two later and says, hey, this is still working great, and is it still worth the money type thing. So I usually try and do that. That's why I usually do like an unboxing video and then I do a review video. But unfortunately, I had some issues with my camera before, so the unboxing video didn't really work all that well. So so this is just kind of like an all-in-one video, so we're just gonna send it out there and let it be. But yeah, so out of a rating of 10, I'd say this is about an 8.5 to a 9, and that's only because my gripe that I see issues coming up with this hole, and pulling the filament down and actually tearing it. But again, that's an easy fix. And then the LCD or LED screen, whatever you want to call it, definitely needs to be backlit. Again, we can fix that. We can just throw an LED behind there and backlight it, and it'll be perfectly fine. So, but it is a really nice unit. It is nice and heat aligned. Ooh, that is kind of toasty. So, so as you can see, there is some heating pads on the sides here, and then there's kind of like a thing. What is it? Kind of like a U-joint that is all around here, and it does evenly heat this. So there's a heating pad here, a heating pad here, and a heating pad here. So that makes sure that it's always evenly heating the area. And obviously, you guys know that heat rises, so that's why this top is on here, because it'll constantly keep the heat from escaping. So, like I said, all in all, I give it an 8.5, 9 out of 10, just because of the multiple use that I'm going to be getting out of it. So I'm sure other people will have different ratings. One thing I wish I would have done beforehand is weighed my spool before and then weighed it after, just to see how much of a difference it actually it did on it. So, but we'll have to leave that for another time. Maybe I'll take another spool out and leave it outside and let the Midwest humidity take care of it. out in the nice Chicago weather. So, but if you guys like the video, go ahead and give that a thumbs up. If you want to see more content, go ahead and subscribe. And until next time, happy printing.